Part 1. The divine tension between opposites, where light and shadow birth the gift. There is a moment in your life that will change everything. It doesn't announce itself with thunder or lightning. It doesn't come when you feel ready. It arrives in the silence, when the world fades and you hear the unmistakable whisper of destiny. That whisper doesn't say you are talented or even you are good. It says you've been chosen, and suddenly your life is no longer yours. You've been given a gift, but not just any gift. You've been given a duality, two forces that should cancel each other out, but instead ignite something divine. Many people crave power, but they don't understand its price. God does not give the rarest duality powers to those who seek comfort or popularity, but He gives them to those who have walked through fire without losing their soul. And those powers are always wrapped in paradox. You are given strength, but only after you've known complete vulnerability. You're handed wisdom, but only after your ignorance has humiliated you. The chosen ones are not the loudest, the most followed, or the most praised. They are the ones who've been broken and remade with sacred contradiction. The first of these rare duality powers is the power of stillness in movement. Most people move because they are restless, trying to escape something. The chosen one moves from a place of stillness so deep it feels like eternity is walking. You've likely seen it before: a person who enters a room and doesn't demand attention, yet everyone turns. It's not their movement that speaks. It's the silence behind it. They are in motion, but they are rooted in something unmoving, eternal. This is not a performance, it's presence. And presence is a rare spiritual force that cannot be faked.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
To access this power, you must learn to move without reaching, to act without grasping, to speak without needing to be heard. This is a sacred paradox, doing without doing. The Taoists called it Wu Wei, effortless action. But in the language of the spirit, it is the ability to allow your body to serve a deeper rhythm. That rhythm does not come from the world, it comes from the source. And when you move from that rhythm, everything you do becomes sacred. The second duality power is the gift of compassion forged in rage. The chosen ones are not calm because they've never been angry. They are calm because they've danced with rage and refused to let it poison them. Rage is not evil. Rage is the scream of the soul when truth is violated. But the chosen one does not let rage burn down the world. They let it burn away their ego. And from that fire emerges a compassion so sharp, so fierce, it feels like a sword wrapped in light. Have you ever loved someone so deeply that it hurt, not because of what they gave you, but because you could see their suffering behind their mask? That is the compassion of the chosen. It is not soft. It is not weak. It is forged in the fire of your own shadow. You know what it means to hate, to want revenge, to destroy. But you made a different choice, and that choice became your power. Not everyone can hold both rage and mercy in the same breath. But if you can, you carry the heart of the divine. The third rare duality power is the ability to speak from silence. Most people speak to prove something. The chosen one speaks only when silence has matured into truth. This is why their words land like thunder, even if they whisper. The world is full of noise, but very few words carry weight. Weight is born from depth. Depth is born from silence. And silence is born from surrender. To be chosen is to live in silence so long that words become sacred again. You speak because you must, not because you want to be heard. You speak not to impress, but to transmit. Your voice is no longer your own, it becomes a vessel. And when you speak from that place, people remember not what you said, but what they felt when you said it. That is the gift, the ability to open other souls with nothing but truth wrapped in breath. The fourth duality power is the strength to lead by following. The chosen ones are not always at the front of the line. Sometimes they are behind the scenes, holding the energy together so others can rise. They do not need the spotlight, because their light comes from within. But when they do lead, it is because they've learned how to follow something higher. Not the crowd, not their ego, but the quiet instructions of spirit. Leadership without spiritual alignment is manipulation. But leadership that flows from obedience to the divine becomes transformation. You don't push people, you invite them. You don't command them, you remind them who they are. This is not leadership by force. It is leadership by frequency. You walk into a room and the room begins to remember itself. That's not charisma. That's alignment. And it cannot be bought, taught, or faked. But every power comes with a trial. You may be wondering, why would God give someone the ability to lead by following? Isn't that contradictory? The answer is because the path of the chosen is a spiral, not a ladder. You come back to the same lessons over and over, but each time with deeper wisdom. God doesn't want you to lead from pride. He wants you to lead from surrender. And that surrender is what makes you unshakable. The fifth duality power is the ability to see clearly while still feeling deeply. Most people must choose either they are analytical and detached or emotional and overwhelmed. But the chosen ones are given the strange ability to feel everything and still remain clear. It's as if their heart is wide open, but their mind is anchored in the sky. They cry, but they see. They feel the pain of the world, but they don't drown in it. They hold space for suffering, but they are not consumed by it. This power is perhaps one of the most misunderstood. People assume that if you feel deeply, you must be unstable. But the chosen one knows that depth of feeling is not weakness, it is data. It is spiritual intelligence flowing through emotion. And when your soul is strong enough to feel fully without losing clarity, you become a bridge for healing. You're not just empathic, you're alchemic. You turn tears into prayers. You turn emotion into revelation. Let's pause and ask something uncomfortable. When was the last time you allowed yourself to feel fully without trying to analyze, escape, or numb it? Most people only feel what they think they can control. But the chosen feel beyond their control, and in doing so, they touch the divine. That's why they can sit with someone in darkness and not flinch. They've been there, and they didn't run. That's what makes their presence a sanctuary. The sixth duality power is the ability to love without attachment. This is one of the highest spiritual paradoxes. Love, in its purest form, is not about possession, it's about presence. The chosen ones know how to love you deeply without needing to own you. They can stand beside you in full devotion, and yet they are free. This kind of love is terrifying to those who have only known control, because it cannot be manipulated. To love without attachment means you do not need the other person to be anything other than what they are. You don't love their potential, you love their presence. You don't seek to fix them, you seek to see them. And in being seen, they are transformed. This kind of love is not romantic in the traditional sense. It is sacred. It is the love of the divine flowing through a human channel. And it is one of the rarest gifts God gives. But that gift only comes after you've had your heart broken in 1,000 ways. You've loved and lost. You've clung and suffered. You've mistaken codependency for connection. And only after the ego has been shattered does this higher love emerge. It rises not from need, but from overflow. That's why the chosen one can give endlessly without running dry. Their love is not sourced from the world, it is sourced from God. The seventh and final duality power, the one that holds all the others together, is the ability to serve while holding sovereignty. The chosen are here to serve, yes, but they are not here to be used. They give, but they do not bleed endlessly. They help, but they do not rescue everyone. They serve not from guilt, but from guidance. Their yes is powerful, but their no is holy. This is the balance of the divine warrior and the sacred healer. You protect your energy, not because you are selfish, but because you are stewarding something sacred. You are here to serve the world, but not at the cost of your soul. And this boundary is what makes your service sustainable. Many burn out because they serve from identity, but the chosen serve from alignment. Part 2. The silent fire within. How the chosen ones carry heaven and earth in the same breath. There is a fire that does not burn with smoke or ash. It's invisible to the eye, but undeniable to the spirit. It is the fire that lives in the hearts of the chosen. It moves through them not with noise, but with knowing. They don't need to announce it. They don't need to prove it. And yet, when they walk into a space, something shifts. That fire is not ego. It is not ambition. It is the silent flame of divine duality, the ability to carry both heaven and earth in the same breath. This is the paradox of the chosen ones. They walk among us as fully human and yet radiate something not of this world. Their pain is real, their struggles are raw, but their center is untouched. They are grounded like mountains and yet open like the sky. That is not an accident, it is a spiritual engineering. God designed them to hold tension without breaking, to feel the weight of the world but still remain light. One of the most misunderstood aspects of the chosen path is that it often begins with isolation. To carry heaven and earth, you must first be stripped of everything that is not essential. The chosen are taken into the wilderness not to punish them, but to prepare them. It is in solitude that they begin to hear the subtle voice of God. Not the voice that speaks in thunder, but the one that whispers in between thoughts. And in that silence, they are given their first true gift, the clarity of inner fire. This fire is not passion in the way the world defines it. It is not tied to success, fame, or results. It is devotion to something eternal. It is the knowing that you were sent here for more than survival. And once you taste that knowing, nothing in this world will ever satisfy you again. That is both the blessing and the burden. pleasure loses its grip. Status becomes meaningless. You are no longer chasing what others chase. You are being pulled by something deeper. But with that fire comes another duality, the unbearable lightness of being. The chosen ones often feel like they're floating between two worlds. One foot in the sacred, one foot in the soil. They can see the divine pattern behind people's pain, and yet they feel that pain deeply. They know the higher plan, but they still grieve the losses. This balance between transcendence and tenderness is what makes them different. They are not detached. They are deeply present, and yet they are not consumed. Have you ever felt like your heart was breaking, but simultaneously, something in you was expanding? That is the silent fire. It's the sacred contradiction of feeling devastated by life while also feeling deeply aligned with your purpose. The chosen ones are masters of this balance. They don't run from heartbreak, they lean into it, knowing that every crack in their heart is a doorway for more divine light to enter. And yet, this fire demands something in return. It asks for truth, brutal, unfiltered truth. The chosen cannot live in illusion. They cannot pretend. They cannot shrink their awareness to fit in. This is why so many of them feel like outcasts at times. They are not designed to be normal. They are designed to be mirrors reflecting back to the world what it refuses to see. But mirrors are not always welcomed. When you carry divine fire, you expose the shadow in others, not by judging them, but simply by being authentic. Your presence alone becomes uncomfortable to those who are hiding. And so the chosen ones often walk through betrayal, rejection, and misunderstanding, not because they are wrong, but because their presence is correct in a world built on lies. This leads us to another rare duality power, the ability to be soft and unbreakable at the same time. The world teaches us to choose be hard and survive, or be soft and suffer. But the chosen know that true softness is not weakness, it is spiritual strength. They can open their heart fully and still stand firm. They can cry and still be fearless. They can kneel and surrender and still carry the authority of heaven. This kind of power is not loud. It doesn't need to be. It radiates in silence. It moves in presence. And it heals by simply existing. Have you ever been around someone who made you feel like you could finally breathe? That is the soft power of the chosen. They don't fix you, they remind you of your worth, of your light, of who you were before the world told you who to be. And yet, they are not saviors. They are catalysts. They don't take your pain away, they awaken your capacity to transform it. That's another paradox. The chosen don't do the work for you, but when you are around them, you feel called to rise. Not because they demand it, but because their being invokes it. That is the power of aligned energy. It doesn't chase, it magnetizes. Still, this fire cannot be sustained without sacred discipline. You may carry divine gifts, but without structure, those gifts will consume you. The chosen ones must learn how to ground their energy, how to protect their time, how to honor their vessel. You cannot pour from an empty cup, no matter how divine your source is. The fire needs a hearth. The light needs a lamp. The spirit needs a body that is cared for. So ask yourself, are you honoring your vessel the way a temple should be honored? Or are you serving everyone else while neglecting your own soul? The chosen ones often feel guilty for resting, for saying no, for creating boundaries. But boundaries are not barriers, they are containers. They protect the sacred. They ensure that what you give is sustainable, not sacrificial. Another gift that emerges from this inner fire is the power of vision through pain. The chosen don't just see what is, they see what could be. They see the potential hidden beneath the chaos. They see the future blooming inside the ruins. And they are often given glimpses of what is to come, not as fortune tellers, but as feelers of divine frequency. They sense what others ignore. They prepare while others sleep. But vision is both a blessing and a burden. It means you often feel alone. You're building something no one else can see yet. You're preparing for a storm while others are sunbathing. You're planting seeds in soil that looks barren. And yet you keep going. Why? Because your fire is not driven by results, it's driven by revelation. You don't need proof. You have knowing. This knowing is what makes you unshakable. When others doubt, you remain. When others fall away, you stay rooted. Not because you are stubborn, but because you are anchored. Anchored to something beyond logic. Anchored to a promise that was whispered to your soul long before you were born. The chosen don't operate on evidence, they operate on alignment. And that alignment becomes their compass in a chaotic world. But alignment requires sacrifice. You will be asked to let go of things that others cling to. Relationships, habits, identities, plans. Not because you are being punished, but because you are being purified. God does not give divine fire to those who are not willing to be refined. You must be emptied so that you can be filled. And that emptying process is not always gentle, but it is always holy. So what do you do when you feel the fire, but the world doesn't recognize it? When you carry the gift, but no one sees it yet? You wait, not passively, but faithfully. You become the guardian of your own soul. You tend to your inner altar. You protect the flame. And when the time comes, you unleash it not with force, but with reverence. Because this fire was never about you. It was always about what would be born through you. And so you walk the earth with a quiet intensity. You smile with ancient eyes. You carry heaven and earth in the same breath. People may never understand you, but they will feel you. And that feeling will awaken something in them that they forgot was possible. That is your gift. That is your calling. That is the fire that burns without consuming. Part 3. Living as the divine paradox. Becoming the bridge between the seen and the unseen. There exists a type of soul, unlike any other one, that walks between worlds, grounded in the earth, while reaching toward the heavens. These souls are the chosen ones, those who have been shaped by fire and silence, forged in paradox, and entrusted with mysteries the world cannot always comprehend. They are not meant to belong fully to this world, nor are they meant to escape it. Instead, they are here to become the bridge, the living embodiment of both the spiritual and the material. They carry the weight of opposites not to be torn apart, but to bring healing to the world through their integration. To live as a divine paradox is not to reject one side of life for the other, but to embrace both with depth and devotion. You are human and divine, powerful and tender, logical and intuitive. These are not contradictions to be resolved, they are sacred forces to be harmonized. The chosen ones do not seek balance by splitting themselves in half. Instead, they carry both energies within them, allowing each to inform and transform the other. This is not confusion, this is spiritual coherence. One of the greatest burdens of the chosen is the feeling of not fully belonging. You may walk through life sensing that you are different, that you see things others don't, that you feel things more deeply. It can be isolating, even painful, to hold a vision the world is not yet ready to receive. But that very difference is not a curse, it's a calling. You are not here to blend in. You are here to awaken others by being fully yourself, contradictions and all. People may try to define you, categorize you, even limit you, but they will never fully succeed. Because what you carry cannot be explained with words alone. It is not logic that moves you, it is divine impulse. It is not tradition that contains you, it is sacred rebellion. And so you will constantly find yourself existing outside of others' expectations, not because you are trying to escape them, but because your soul simply does not fit inside them. The world often demands that we choose between light and dark, between strength and softness, between action and stillness. But the chosen ones are here to unify what the world has divided. You are the evidence that it is possible to be both grounded and transcendent, both vulnerable and resilient. This is not something you achieve through force, it is something that naturally arises when you stop resisting your own nature. The paradox is not something to be solved, it is something to be lived. Yet this path requires deep inner work. You must be willing to face the parts of yourself that you've judged, rejected, or buried. Because true wholeness does not come from spiritual bypassing, it comes from fierce self-acceptance. The chosen ones are not chosen because they are perfect. They are chosen because they have the courage to live whole. And that wholeness is what allows them to hold the frequency of transformation. One of the most sacred duality powers is the ability to feel deeply while remaining centered. You are not numb, and you are not overwhelmed. You feel pain without becoming it. You sense joy without clinging to it. This ability to be in the storm without losing your stillness is what makes your presence healing. People don't always know why they feel safe around you, they just do. This form of spiritual stability is not inherited, it is cultivated. It comes from years of sitting with your own discomfort, of returning to your breath when everything around you is falling apart. It comes from choosing peace again and again, even when chaos knocks at your door. And over time, that peace becomes your natural state, not because life got easier, but because you got deeper. This is the paradox of calm power. It is not loud, but it is unshakable. The chosen ones also carry the gift of spiritual fluidity, the ability to shift between roles, energies, and realms without losing their center. One moment you may be a fierce protector, the next, a gentle guide. One day you're in deep contemplation, the next, you're leading others through transformation. This fluidity is not confusion, it is mastery. It is the result of having integrated your inner polarities so completely that you are no longer bound by one identity. But with this gift comes another challenge. People will often try to reduce you to the version of you that they prefer. They will cling to your softness and be surprised when you roar. They will admire your clarity but question your silence. And it is here that your sovereignty must rise. You are not here to be consistent in the way the world defines it. You are here to be authentic, which sometimes means evolving in ways that others don't expect. This leads us to the duality of visibility and sacred secrecy. The chosen ones are called to be seen, but not always understood. There are seasons where your light must shine in the open, where your words and presence become medicine for the collective. But there are also seasons where you must retreat, go inward, and protect the sacred within you. This is not hiding, it is honoring. You are not meant to be consumed, you are meant to be consecrated. And while the world may hunger for your energy, you must discern how and when to give. Serving everyone is not sacred, it is scattered. The chosen serve with intention, not obligation. They give from overflow, not depletion. They understand that their energy is not just a resource, it is a revelation. And every act of service becomes a transmission of divine presence when it flows from alignment. Another rare duality power is the capacity to hold both grief and gratitude in the same breath. You understand that sorrow is not the absence of joy, it is its mirror. You can cry for what was lost while celebrating what was gained. You can mourn a version of yourself that died while honoring the one that was born. This emotional depth does not make you fragile, it makes you whole. And from this wholeness, wisdom flows like water. Have you ever wept and felt more alive, more connected, more here than ever before? That is the paradox at work. The chosen ones don't run from grief, they walk with it, hand in hand, until it transforms into grace. And in doing so, they become vessels of compassion, able to hold space for others without trying to fix or rescue. This is not sympathy, it is sovereign empathy. Living as a divine paradox also means that your life becomes a message, even when you say nothing. Your very existence challenges the binary thinking of the world. People may not understand your path, but they will feel its truth. You don't need to convince anyone. Your embodiment speaks louder than your explanations. And this is where your silent power begins to ripple through the collective. But this influence must always return to one thing: inner alignment. Without it, the paradox collapses into confusion. With it, the paradox becomes power. The chosen ones live in alignment not because it's trendy, but because it's the only way to carry divine fire without burning themselves. Alignment is not about perfection, it's about coherence between your soul, your actions, and your mission. So ask yourself now, with complete honesty, where in your life are you pretending to be one-dimensional when your soul is calling you to be whole? Where are you shrinking one side of your being to make others comfortable? Where have you been denying your own paradox to fit into a world afraid of complexity? These are not small questions. These are the doorways to your liberation. The time has come not to choose one part of yourself over another, but to integrate them all. Let your shadow dance with your light. Let your silence speak through your action. Let your joy rise through your pain. This is not a contradiction. This is divine design. And when you live from this place, you don't just feel powerful, you become transformational. You are no longer waiting for someone to give you permission to be who you are. You are no longer diluting your essence to be more digestible. You are no longer apologizing for holding multiple truths at once. You are the living paradox, the sacred contradiction, the divine in motion. and your life is the bridge the world didn't know it needed. You are here now, not to be perfect, but to be true. Not to be followed, but to be felt. Not to be worshipped, but to be mirrored. And when you live from that place, something ancient awakens not just in you, but in everyone who witnesses you. Because your very existence becomes a key, a permission slip, a sacred remembering. You are the rarest kind of light. You are the flame that does not burn, but illuminates. You are the water that does not drown, but heals. You are the chosen one not because you were favored, but because you were ready. And now, the world is ready for you.